And this is a mounting stone in the Wilton Castle yard, where just outside the harness room they had this little step here, so it was easy to get onto your horse. Where the beck came down Waterfall Gill, it ran under the field behind Wilton Castle, under the road, under the Castle Drive, under the road in front of the castle, and it emerged here. It's an area which was always known as Black Bess. Supposedly Dick Turpin, fleeing from some law enforcement, jumped across it with his horse. I think it's just a figment of somebody's imagination. And this is Black Bess 2013, hasn't changed at all. Oh, there's no water coming out today, it's all emerging down at the bottom. Some of the senior staff in ICI said about planting specimen trees in the castle grounds, and there's a little plaque on the path that runs behind Wilton churchyard. Neil Charlton was a resident on the Wilton Green estate. He lived at number 11 Eston Road. But some of those specimen trees still survive, and of course are now of substantial size. Wilton tree planting panel, 1955 to 1962. Planting of the specimen trees in this wood and the surrounding parkland was initiated by the Wilton tree planting panel. And it's still here, 2013. And in the field behind Wilton Castle there's a tree with this little plaque at the bottom of it. This carriage drive round the back of Wilton Church used to come along here. And at this point there was a bridge over the road, which you can see there at the bottom of Wilton Bank. And on the other side you could just see a gate post, and it was a magnificent gate to prevent the hoi polloi from coming onto the parkland of the castle. This was really private. You see one of those gates there, gate posts there. And that train, there it is. There's another one to the right of it. Huge lumps of sandstone. And the bridge disappeared in the 1950s. It was much too small for large farm machinery. At the bottom of Wilton Bank was where the bridleway went across from Wilton Castle, across a little bridge, and all the way along to East Lodge at Dunsdale, along the bottom of Wilton Woods. And just after you crossed the bridge there was a beautiful gate here. Which disappeared years ago, and all that remains are these rather handsome sandstone gate posts. I'm amazed they haven't been taken away by now. This is the bridge at the bottom of Wilton Bank. See that nice wall round there. it had this nice balustrade, as did the other bridge, Lion's Bridge, or Waterfall Bridge as we called it, and they had a very thick all oak deck with a tarmacadam surface on top. There were numerous accidents, people coming down the bank, Wilton Bank, 1 in 4, particularly on bicycles. So I heard a rumour that somebody had been killed. But eventually this little gap here, this little hole, was too small for modern farm machinery. So the bridge was removed in the very early 1950s. And even then, where the photographer is standing is so steep that on one occasion a tractor pulling a trailer load of grain, the wheel slipped and it ran backwards and jackknifed where that cart is there, overturned. There was grain all over the road. So ICI put a little slip road round here, round the back, so they didn't have to deal with this very, very steep bit right at the very bottom. I think it's gated off now, and I don't think you can actually use it. And it was just on the other side of this bridge where there was a wonderful gate, and just the gate posts remain now. I wonder who that fella is. I would think coming down Wilton Bank with a wagon and a horse would be a very scary business. So this is Wilton Bank, which is 1 in 4. It's much better now than it used to be. And there you can see where it went through the bridge. There used to be a nice wall on the left hand side, but most of it's been taken away. You drive from behind the church, if you turn right instead of going over the bridge at the bottom, you used to come up here. To Waterfall Bridge, or Lion's Bridge as we knew it. Only the buttresses remain. We'll go and have a look. Fortunately the sun has moved round, so you can't really see the sun on the castle from this field. You see these ancient oaks, they appear on lithographs from years and years, and they must be 300-400 years old, these oak trees. And down where that fence is there, that wooden fence, when I was young, there used to be a stable there, quite a substantial place. Long since gone. And if I just turn round in woodland here, there's this strange monument. All sorts of rumours as to what it's for. I heard tell it was to do with the death of some hounds which fell off the side of Waterfall Bridge. Somebody else said it was to do with one of the Lowther's donkeys dying. But personally I think it was just ornamental. There's absolutely no engraving on it at all, no markings on it whatsoever. The drive is completely overgrown now. But just through there it went across Waterfall Gill. We might get a better view of it from the other side. And in 2005 this was all that remained of Waterfall Bridge. One buttress on one side and one buttress on the other. So this is the drive that used to come from Wilton Castle Garden side. Came along here. And this is the west side of the gill. This is where the bridge was. And the bridge went across here. So this is a buttress on the west side. And on the other side there in the sunshine you can see the buttress on the east side. It was a real fancy bridge. It was it had balustrated rail on both sides and oak deck covered with tarmac. A layer of tarmac on. And it rested on two huge girders which went from one side to the other. Anyway, they sawed the deck off at both ends and just left the middle. But you could walk along the girder and get onto the middle quite easily. And then eventually somebody came and took the girders away, and the whole lot just lay in the bottom there. Yeah, such a shame. In June the whole place is ablaze with rhododendrons. An absolute weed, they take over everywhere. This is the drive. They've encroached on this almost up to the fence. Let's keep coming and chopping them back. These are the original steps that led up to the fountain gardens, which have now gone. This is where there used to be a well in here as part of the fountain gardens, but when ICI had it, they made this little gardeny bit, which has just been allowed to neglected. Well, somebody seems to be doing a little bit of work here on it just now. Maybe they're going to do it up. And about 50 yards to the west of this hollow oak tree was a collapsed gulf, and you could go down that hole there and get into the mines. It didn't go very far, and it was very, very dangerous down there. And right at the top of Wilton Castle Gardens there was what was called the fountain garden, an ornamental area with a little bridge and a little stream flowing through it, and it had a well which is marked on the maps, and this is a photograph taken in 1968 of that very same well. I suspect it's gone now. So lo and behold, the well still remains, but it's outside the fence now. Although it's all filled in full of rubbish, but you can still see the ornamental stonework there. And this is looking down into Waterfall Gill. This is the lower footpath. There's one higher up, but it does look as if anyone's been along here for years. When Lowthers lived at Wilton Castle, these paths used to have to be swept. Now they're just contouring it the hillside with leaves. It is a fair old drop into the bottom. It was called Waterfall Gill because on the far side there used to be a couple of little trickling waterfalls. Artificial. The water was brought by that aqueduct which finished there just at the top of Wilton Bank Road, and the water ran down in little rivulets down these waterfalls. It's all gone now. This is what the end of the aqueduct looks like now, if you can find it. If you don't know where it is, you'd probably find it very difficult. But the water used to come out of here and cascade down the side of the waterfall gill, make some waterfalls. But now it finishes on the corner of Lovell Hill. You can see here, all the fence has all been flattened, nothing's been done about it. It's all just been left. I don't in fact know who owns it now. Still, it's an absolute wilderness for wildlife. I've just seen a deer and badgers. And the bird life is just tremendous. So perhaps it's best just left. A wonderful view of Wilton Castle in the evening sunshine. May 2013. There's a nice view of Wilton Castle through the arch. The ivy climbing the main door. Or what used to be the main door, the entrance to somebody's flat now. At the very far end is the east wing, which was added by Charles Hugh Lowther. It's the only bit with downcomers on the outside. And on the top of the downcomers, that little catch pot there, you have CHL embossed on them. Charles Hugh Lowther. This is Lila Charlotte Sarah Lowther. She was the wife of Colonel John George Lowther, who sold Wilton Castle to ICI. She used to ride around the village in a little horse-drawn carriage. She was quite popular, I understand. The older people in the village spoke quite well of her.